When you see a beehive, you probably think honey, right? Simple. But what if I told you that Hive is actually a miniature biofactory, a powerhouse that's been pumping out natural treasures for literally thousands of years? So let's peel back the layers and take a look inside. So, what exactly are these treasures? I mean, yeah, there's the golden honey we all know and love. But a single hive is so much more than that. Think of it like a complex, buzzing pharmacy and workshop, all rolled into one, creating a whole range of incredibly valuable stuff. And get this, even if we only talk about honey, its complexity is just staggering. We're talking about more than 180 different substances that scientists have found in there. You've got your sugars and amino acids, sure, but also vitamins, minerals, and some really potent antioxidants. One's called pinic and you pretty much only find it in honey. It is, without a doubt, a true superfood, perfectly crafted by nature. Okay, so let's crack open this natural treasure chest and really explore the gifts inside. And we've got to start with the one that's captivated humans for millennia. You know, the story of honey is really our own story. I mean, we've found 8,000-year-old cave paintings showing our ancestors harvesting it. The ancient Egyptians, they used it for everything, as currency in sacred rituals, even for embalming. Fast forward to ancient Greece, and the famous physician Hippocrates was actually prescribing it as medicine. And the coolest part? Today, modern science is looking at all that ancient wisdom and basically saying, yep, they were right. But believe it or not, honey is just the beginning. The hive also gives us beeswax, which is this amazing protective barrier we use in everything from cosmetics to keeping our food fresh. And then there's propolis. Some people call it bee glue. It's this powerful antiviral resin that bees use to naturally sterilize the hive. And guess what? We're now starting to harness it for our own medicine. Pretty incredible. Okay, but this next one, this is where it gets really wild. Royal jelly. Here's the deal. All bee larvae are basically identical when they're born, genetically the same, but their entire destiny comes down to what they eat. A worker bee, she gets royal jelly for just 3 days and lives for maybe 6 weeks. The queen, on the other hand, gets a lifelong, all-you-can-eat buffet of the stuff. The result? She lives for up to 5 years and lays over 2,000 eggs a day. Same genes, totally different life, all because of this one incredible substance. So yeah, we have this unbelievable bounty of natural wonders, all coming from this one little hive. But there's a catch. Our insatiable demand for all these amazing products, it's come at a hidden and frankly a very high price. And that brings us to the dark side of this story. We're talking about industrial beekeeping, where the pressure to meet global demand puts an absolutely unbearable strain on the bees themselves. Just to give you a sense of the scale here, in 2023 alone, the world produced 1.9 million metric tons of honey. That number is it's staggering. And it has fueled this massive industry that's really focused on just one thing, maximizing output. And unfortunately, that often comes at the direct expense of the bees. So you're probably wondering, how on earth do they achieve that kind of output? Well, in a lot of big commercial operations, beekeepers take pretty much all the honey, all of it. So to get the bees through the winter, they're fed this cheap sugar syrup. The problem is that syrup is basically junk food. It's missing all the vital micronutrients, the vitamins and minerals that they'd get from natural nectar. And what happens? It weakens their immune systems. And look, poor nutrition is just one piece of a much bigger, much sadder puzzle. The modern honeybee is under constant assault. We're talking about being trucked all over the country for migratory pollination, being exposed to pesticides, and even being forced to compete with vital native bees. All of these industrial pressures, they really take a heavy toll. This whole pressure for quantity over quality, it creates a huge problem for us, the consumers, too. Global investigations have found that over a quarter of the honey on the international market is adulterated. That just means it's been diluted with cheap sugar syrups. So there's a good chance you're not even getting what you think you're paying for. And this goes way beyond just honeybees. When you move these massive commercial hives into an area, they can outcompete the native wild bees for food, and they can even spread diseases to them. And these are the very pollinators our local ecosystems absolutely depend on. So the threat isn't just about one hive, it's about our global biodiversity. Okay, so that's all pretty bleak, but it doesn't have to be this way. The good news is there's a growing movement that's forging a much more ethical and sustainable path forward. So let's dive into that solution.
At the heart of this solution is a concept called fair trade beekeeping. And what that is it's a global movement that's all about reframing our relationship with bees. It's about prioritizing their health, the health of the environment, and, of course, the beekeepers themselves.
And why is this so critical? Well, the very people this movement supports, we're talking small-scale, local beekeepers, they already produce a whopping 70% of the world's honey. So fair trade is all about empowering the real backbone of the entire industry. So how does it work? Well, the whole model is built on 4 key pillars. First, a fair price, so producers aren't squeezed. Second, bee welfare. This is a big one. It requires beekeepers to leave enough honey for the bees to get through winter. Third, environmental protection, which means no harmful chemicals and making sure there's plenty of floral diversity. And finally, number 4 is transparency, so you can actually trace the honey in your jar and know for sure it's pure and ethically sourced. And this right here is where we all come in. There's a great line in the source material that says, by supporting this model, consumers actively participate in protecting pollinators and fostering a more equitable global food system. And that's exactly it. It's not just about buying a jar of honey. It's about casting a vote for the kind of world you want to live in. When you boil it all down, it really comes to this. Our future is completely tied to the future of bees. And that choice we make standing there in the grocery aisle, well, it matters a whole lot more than you might think. For literally thousands of years, the hive has given us its bounty so freely. So, the really crucial question we have to ask ourselves now is, what are we going to give back?